Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Duval Dive. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game.
And I'm Travis Holmes with BigCatCountry.com, clawing my eyes out.
And you're listening to this thing on the Believe Podcast Network. Travis can't even keep professionalism in the intro. The God himself gracing us with the end of this game with the 2-minute basically cancellation of the game due to weather. But yeah, that's all just adorable. 34-17 your score. We were complaining about a game last year, Travis, where they scored only 6 points. Perhaps that one was better than this. And listen, objectively, this is one of the more tougher watches tonight, covering the Jacksonville Jaguars with you so far here on the dive. But I'm going to start with the upside. The reason for that is because you correctly predicted that the starters and many others would not see time tonight because practice went that well on Wednesday. I saw some Carolina Panthers streamer losing his entire mind because the way that this game was going. And I'm glad he found a way to help his blood flow going, because that's really all about that's useful for in this game. I will also note the reason why Nick Mullins is on the thumbnail is he had a pretty good game as a high note, 6-7 on the evening. And he should have had a touchdown and gone 7 for 7, but it was the one I think a one single bad play Abdullah had on the night. Go ahead, Travis.
Well, it's funny. The fan base right now doesn't seem to necessarily agree with you. And I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that looking at the socials, looking at Twitter, looking at TikTok.
I was hoping you weren't going to jump right through that, but I think it's appropriate then, now that I quote our guest from Wednesday, Brett Coleman, calm the down, Jaguars fans. Okay. No, some late, it doesn't matter, flings between Aguilar and Pena. Let's relax. I granted, I do want to see more from Aguilar, but like, just
I think, but they like anything new. And I'm not trying to shame the fan base for liking something new or for wanting to say that they needed something different because they've seen enough of Nick Mullins, but this probably wasn't the night for it. Let's be honest. Like this, he was 6 of 7, and his one incompletion was a drop that should have been a touchdown.
Correct.
This ain't the night for it, man.
And listen, I mean, it's not Abdullah didn't have his high points. He had an excellent run, out of their own end zone there. You got to dig that little okey doke and to take it some distance. That was just one of a few big plays he had on the night. Clearly the player of the game on offense from my eyes. I don't know what you put out there on Big Cat Country, but that's where I'm at.
He was absolutely my player of the game on offense. And I won't give away my player of the game on special teams because you have to click the link to find it out. But I
won't be Camp Little. His Madden rating is too low.
I will tell you that no one's going to guess who my player of the game on defense was. I'm not even 99% sure. I am 100% sure no one's going to guess who on BigCatCountry.com my player of the game on defense was, because if you watch this game, you probably don't have a good player of the game either, right?
Well, Travis, you know what? Now my wife's going to be pissed. I'm calling up the librarian this late at night to read the article so I know who that guy is, okay?
Jeez. Man, this was a day, man. And I'm always honest with you guys. I'm never trying to pretend. I'm never trying to BS you. This was a rough watch. I just got to be honest with you. If you were not a fan of the Jacksonville Jaguars, you were not watching this game realistically past halftime, just because of you're looking for the development. And even then, this was one of those games where if you're the coach, you're probably saying, burn the tape. Like, take what you can take from this. Obviously you have to review the tape, but after that, burn the tape. Monday, we're moving on to week 3 because it was that tough. It was that rough just across the board. You have 9 penalties accepted at the half. You have 10 penalties overall. If you want to count decline penalties for 60 yards, you got 2 turnovers in the game. One of them just a horrible decision by Carter Bradley. I mean, you're throwing across your body, going the opposite direction, rolling out and trying to can't do that. That's Aaron Rodgers-ish. You can't do that.
You ain't good enough to be Aaron Charles Rodgers.
That's unfortunately the truth.
Well, here's what I need a little help from you on, because I think there are some players that we were looking for. I know I mentioned it on Locked On Jaguars hit that one of the guys I would be looking for were the safeties, Ransaw and Husky. I'll just go right to it. Timmy Devil in the comments.
Cool.
I'm extremely disappointed in Caleb Ransaw, says Timmy Devil. Husky looks better right now. Strigo and Durfee can't hold up against the run. We'll get to the D tackles in the front for a minute. I'm knocking on the door in your house to tell me what you felt like about the safeties play tonight.
So this is a weird one, because when you say you were extremely disappointed.
Extremely's a bit much, but hey, let Timmy Devil fan. It's okay.
Yeah, in Ransaw tonight, because I thought he was up and down, but I didn't think it was down. I didn't think it was a down performance. I just thought most of the time, my takeaway with most of Ransaw's play is, hey man, for the most part, he's a younger Eric Murray in my head. He's normally in the right spot. He's generally not going to be targeted very much, and he's normally not giving up a lot of big plays.
But
that's normally where I am.
Let's frame it the way we did back in, let's say a July or a May, right? We were saying Eric Murray is the bar, and if Ransaw is supposed to be the next generation, he has to clear that. So if you were somebody who thought that Ransaw was going to do that, you would be extremely disappointed. And I think that's where we're at. And Timmy Devil, you could tell me, we're frenemies, man. You could tell me if I'm on track with your thought process and how I frame that.
Well, I think for the most part, that's what he's been throughout much of camp. So you haven't seen many of the splash plays, whereas with Jalen Husky, it's either a big play given up, like a touchdown in the joint practices, and then a big hit in the same practice, where it's like, all right, cool. This is good. This is bad. But what does that mean overall? Whereas with Ransaw, you would just have, he's just steady Eddie. He's just right in the middle. So that's kind of where it's always been this little push and pull of what is your taste? What is your preference there? And in this game, I agree. It was more like, hey, no, Ransaw had a few good plays where he's in coverage and he forces an incompletion. And I'm like, this is cool. But then he also does give up a few catches. And then it's like, all right, well, that's not a great game, not a bad game. It's just kind of a game. And I guess folks remember those splash plays from Husky. And that's why they probably view that higher. I think they're very close either way, which shouldn't be so shocking because they drafted them right around the same range that they drafted Caleb Ransaw a year beforehand. So these guys are going to be up and down week by week. That's kind of how it is. But I don't say majorly disappointed. I don't think that's not where I land, at least.
Yeah, right. And again, it's a framing thing. You're there at camp every day. Not all of us, well, I shouldn't say every day, but a lot of days, and not all of us are. Listen, you have been there right there at Miller Electric, dropping some dimes right off the field here on the Duval dive. You have seen some things we haven't. This is why you're talking to us. It's telling us to calm the bleep down. I got you.
Yeah.
Timmy Devil also says that part of his evaluation is the fact that Ransaw is such a high pick. I would also remind everybody he has not been on the field.
Am I crazy? Wasn't Jalen Husky picked like 11 picks after Caleb Ransaw just in a different year?
Man, listen, go argue with your mama. I'm just telling you what Timmy's response was.
I'm like, wait a minute. He's like a high pick. And I'm like, high pick, but I don't think it was.
Well, I mean, the precise comment, he said he's a second round pick or third or whatever was his actual comment there.
I got you.
Preston agrees too. Either I think either Ransaw or Lane will move to nickel. I think Jarian is needed outside. Braswell wasn't awful. Going from Hunter to Braswell, I don't know. I think the reason why you saw Braswell instead of Jarian is because Jarian's going to be treated like basically essentially a starter in this room. Yeah, so I would make that subtle adjustment. I'm not saying you don't know that, Preston. I'm saying it out loud for the people at large. And I thought,
but I think that was a great situation. It was a great situation for the Jaguars secondary coming into this game, knowing that you'd be playing against the Tech McMillan and all these guys for the starting offense for the Panthers.
Right. That's a good point.
That started out great. The first series, I think a lot of folks was like, all right, maybe we got something, but then,
here's the thing. I think there's an element of it, and I say what you will. I'm not defending it. This is just I'm saying my 2 cents of what I think happened, because they cut to a shot of Camp getting in their butt. You could tell he was trying to rile these dudes. And let's be real, like, you whooped these cats in practice already in a way that was, it was dominant. I'm not saying Panthers did nothing. Ted McMillan's a hell of a receiver who made a play or two. I'm taking nothing from him. Let's be clear. But all of the above to say, like, I think they just let the wind get out of their sail. I don't think the guys were as fully engaged tonight as they were for that practice. And I'm not saying they're lazy. I'm not saying they don't care. I think it's just different at this point. And the guys that wanted to fight for jobs were the ones that made plays, I guess.
So I slightly disagree because I do think in some ways they got out physicaled. I mean, if you're talking just specifically the run game, let's just start there. They were averaging the Carolina Panthers.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah,
over 7 yards a carry at the half. Now, a big portion of that was the 39-yard reverse that they had, but nevertheless, you're talking 92 yards rushing at the half. You're still talking 5.3 yards per carry at the end of the game. They couldn't stop these guys to save their life. So some of that was just the interior depth for the Jacksonville Jaguars defensive line were not able to get the push that they needed. And they weren't getting the push that we were seeing in practice. But some of that is the fact that the Jaguars interior D line is just not as deep. They may be as good as we want them to be when you're talking the top end guys, but they may not have the 2s, 3s, 4s that they needed as far as the Carolina Panthers maybe have. I think that's probably a safe landing point there. So yes, I think they struggled to get off the field from that pretty much from the third, fourth series on. Mm-hmm. You can't stop the run. You can't get out the field. Bucky Brooks is on the podcast, friend of the pod. Bucky Brooks been on here twice. As he said it, if you're getting 4 yards down the field, 5 yards down the field before you're first getting touched, what are we doing? What are you talking about? Yeah, you can't win that.
I think it says more about the Saints than the Panthers, frankly, that they're, especially in particular in the trenches, their depth is what it is. Maybe Bryce is the problem. I'm not saying that, but I can see how one could make that conclusion if you're seeing this. Granted, it's sorry, let me do the thing. We got to do the thing.
This was real.
Listen, we're talking about practice, not a game. We talking about practice.
When you sit in the starters to the extent that they are, and these cats are coming out playing starters, and then the rest of the game it's the backups, we talk about practice.
I don't know that I necessarily I'm with you because again, I thought I want to see my 2s versus their starters. I've seen my starters versus their starters, and I
want to see Mullins against starters too. Damn right. Yeah.
Our starters versus their starters put BTA. That was not pretty. I'm just calling a spade a spade. I'm telling you what I saw. I don't care what nobody else says. Like in the framing they want to put around that. That's know what I
talked about on Tuesday. That's
right. Right. I know what I saw. I know what that
Wednesday,
was.
Sorry.
So now I know what the starters look like. I want to know who my depth guys are who can truly make the jump. I need to know who my depth guys are who truly got that dog in them and who's ready for what's to come. We saw some guys who shrunk in the moment. We saw some people who rose in the moment. I was absolutely shocked that Abdullah had the game that he had because I wasn't sure why he wasn't dressed in the opening preseason game last week. And then he had this game. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know you had that in you. I'm sorry, sir. My bad. I guess I'll respect your game a little more. So I'm happy to see it. Old man. And I say old man, but in the NFL, like he's been in the league, I believe it was over 10 years. Like that's an old man in the NFL.
Works for me.
He had that old man game, bro.
Kimronica? Sure. Ask if Albert
maybe he lives in Canada. Yeah, Cameron's Canada. I don't
know. Cameron, Canada. That actually makes sense.
Yeah. And no, to answer your question, no.
I didn't think he did either. Yeah,
he didn't. Well, it was one day this week. I forget which day it was that he didn't practice. So it's quite possible that has something to do with that, or if he was getting the starter treatment. I'm not 100% sure which one, but just you haven't seen that from many of the rookies. Probably have to assume it was related to injury.
Which is interesting that both rookies that are getting that treatment are in the trenches in the form of Pregnon and Regis. So that's fascinating.
Well, did Pregnon get that treatment?
He didn't play tonight. He didn't start anyway.
I was about to say because I'm like he was dressed, so that was weird. If he didn't play, but he was dressed, well, because they have a numbers issue, he has to be dressed in case the guy gets injured.
You got it.
Fair. Good question.
I mean, by the way, for all the people who are wondering why Veolele was picked up, yeah, you saw it tonight.
Are dire.
Okay.
And that was the other thing. Is again, I was still shocked that the O-line was able to kind of get a little bit of movement, despite the fact that they still have their depth issues also.
Yeah, those guys, I heard on the broadcast that the guys they started with that were basically like, the low 2s and 3s, play the entire game. So, I mean, good. Let's get these cats rest. They bleed and need it. Those cats need reps. Need I say more?
Yes, speaking of the O-line, I mean,
I was gonna put out Robert Lemonson says in the comments. Anton Harrison. Let me try. I tried to put a T in Harrison. That was great. Anton Harrison, starting left tackle for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah,
it was just a funny experiment last year. Now it's real, bro.
Not a shock. It should have been expected. But the bigger question is truly, for me at least, the surrounding movements. Like, what does that mean for who's going to be at which spot as far as Pregnon and Ezra Cleveland? Like, it feels very much like Pregnon is going to be the right guard, but I guess we'll see what happens when they finally make their official decision on the IR placement or non-IR placement for Macari, and what moving pieces kind of result from that, because there's still a little conversation also.
Yeah. Here's where we got to be careful is Cole Van Landen is practicing, but we don't know where he is in his return and recovery necessarily. Right.
Correct.
So let's calm the bleep down is kind of a theme tonight.
Right.
So we don't know if he will be immediately right tackle. Okay.
Right. He has basically 3 weeks before week 1. Like the North Star is week 1. It's not talking about right now.
Yeah, right. I'm assuming, we don't know. Setbacks happen. We don't know where he's at exactly. I agree with you. We are certainly targeting week 1. In the event that's not the case, there's still a world where Ezra Cleveland is the right tackle, and then we got to solve for the guard spot. To your point, we may have had Emmanuel Pregnon in left guard in that one game. There are murmurings that you're mentioning that they're going to put him right. I'm just having fun speculating this ish. Okay. So I do find it interesting that Ezra Cleveland, for all I heard from him and his desire to play tackle, is still not going to be doing that.
I thought he had the lack of desire to play tackle. He was just saying he could.
Oh, and see, and maybe this is where stories are getting mixed. You never know.
I think he was saying like, if I'm playing tackle, y'all got a problem, but I could do it basically.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Then that makes me feel better about that whole situation. Cool. Nah,
man. Yeah. So this night, I was disappointed with the DB play. Like, can we just start there? Because that's my house. I just want to get this off my chest.
I set the table for you.
I was majorly disappointed with the play of the DBs tonight. Like, and that's, again, not talking in individual guy. We talked about Caleb Bransall versus Jalen Husky. I actually thought those two guys didn't have bad games. Like, I think they may have lost plays, but it wasn't like they just played a horrendous, or they were out of position all the time. Nothing like that. You feel bad for for goodness gracious, the guy's name, Corey Ballantyne.
Yeah,
you feel bad for him on that one play that he gets the catch, because he's in perfect position, gets his hand up. I mean, technique wise, does everything right, and just isn't able to get his hand on the ball. I mean, it really sucks because of just how bad his week was last week, that everyone in the Duval fan base kind of knows his name and kind of halfway expected him to be cut this past week, just to be real. Like, I've seen enough of the conversation on the socials to know that this is objectively kind of where you guys landed, and he didn't. And that says that he must have been playing well enough in practice to not be cut, and he still had the right technique and gets caught on the touchdown there. But you get that you have 34 pass attempts tonight, and you have no pass breakups.
That's wild.
That's it. That's a rough situation for any defense. So I'm at that point, I'm like, damn, Camp, I'm feeling bad for you. You guys ain't getting no pressure on the quarterback. You guys aren't getting any. You're having a lot of penalties. You're not able to stop the run. Damn, what are we doing? What are we able to do tonight positively? Like, that list is really short, and that sucks right now.
Yeah, there's that. I mean, you're making that burn the tape thing. I don't think that Camp can do that. I think he's got to see what they're blowing, because in the event they got to call on these dudes, you got to put them in a position to be comfortable, and you got to put them in a position to.
But then there's the question of who are you calling? When you say call on these dudes, sorry, I'm just making that point. Like, all right, so what are we saying? These are just guys who don't have the ability, or are we saying these are guys who could be called upon, and we think they have the ability? They just had a rough day, because there's a line between.
Or there's still things to learn, because Ransaw, for all intents and purposes, is still a rookie, right? I'll say it this way: when Travis Etienne was a second year, I saw him in preseason and was excited. I'm not getting that yet from Ransaw. Granted, I know it's not even the same side of the ball, let alone different positions, but I think this is what's missing. Is people aren't getting that pop from a Ransaw. Or I don't know that there's a player like that. Maybe they're not getting that same pop from, let's say, a Jabbar Muhammad as well. Or a Braswell as well. No, we've gotten that pop in Braswell other years. That's true, but
we get that pop. But some of these guys are you're not going to get the pop unless they're getting a boatload of PBUs, unless they're getting a lot of interceptions or something along those lines, or just a big hits. Husky's the big hit guy.
I don't agree, because if you're in a position where they aren't throwing the ball and moving it 34 times, someone's going to notice that.
But that was the whole purpose of me using Caleb Ransaw as the example in previous weeks, right. Even in previous joint practices. It was, well, Caleb Ransaw, you didn't hear his name. Exactly. That's a good thing. And that's always my point. It was always my point is, hey, it's a good thing. But people now, when you do hear his name and it's a bad play, you don't think about the many times that the ball's not thrown his way, because those aren't as good a play as a big hit or interception. So the positive is the negatives overweighing the positive, basically.
But to get back to my point, does that say more about the Saints' lack of depth than it does the Jaguars' performance facing the Panthers? No, I said the Saints, because they were successful in that game. Now, granted, they played some higher depth charted guys. We found out about Pregnon, for example. Albert Regis was in that game wreaking havoc. I think Ransaw was tested less because more havoc was wreaked against the Saints. They pulled back more against a Panther team who, I've said before, may have more depth than the Saints do. I know I'm getting in the weeds here.
I got you. So that's why I was confused, because I'm like, well, what did it have to do with Ransaw? Because in my head, Ransaw
got tested more this game
because the pass rush wasn't getting home.
Exactly.
So that's basic. If that's the result we're coming to, then cool. All right, cool. The pass rush isn't getting home. They're able to run the ball. They're balanced. At that point, you're kind of guessing what they're doing. I can understand a lot of that, especially if you're playing match coverage. If you're in cover 4 or something like that, and you're the force defender. Yeah, you got to play a little bit of both, playing your keys, and it's going to be a little bit more difficult versus last week when you can kind of just sit back because you're in a better situation and you guys are actually getting home on the quarterback. It helps out the DBs. So hey, I can understand that, but at the end of the day, I was more disappointed with the cornerback plays, nickelback, dime, and all those guys.
That's interesting. I thought the line is the beginning of where it all breaks down. To your point, there's no pressure.
It all breaks down.
It was all pretty awful.
It was all awful. And I told you in the game, I was like, bro, it's hard to lie to people. So I don't try to. It was bad football. It was bad to watch. Jesus, God, Buddha, whoever you pray to, saved us from having to watch the last 2 minutes of it.
The powers that be. We'll go with that.
It was rough. I can't pretend that that's not the case. But there are positive takeaways. And again, hopefully we can find those positives. We can find that 2%.
I was hoping you had something you could offer other than
I don't. Maybe y'all can remind me of some of those things, because I have the article pending on BigCatCountry.com talking about all the different things that they did do well, or things that were at least promising.
This went well. Look at that, Jew.
Yeah, that went well. Amir Abdullah, that was good. Nick Mullins, despite the fan base being real fickle sometimes and acting like they didn't see that great drive he did put together, did do well.
Had a touchdown if it wasn't for, ironically, Abdullah.
Josh Cameron, CJ Williams, yes,
both
did well.
I'm sorry I couldn't find video for them. I wanted to clip that.
Oh, they both did well. So there are absolute positive. If you're talking to guys who are truly ones and twos, who you're going to be depending on in the foreseeable weeks and months in the future. Yeah, I think those are generally positive takeaways, knowing that you rested so many guys and you were playing against the starters early on, and you did force a 3 and out early on defense. You did do reasonably well on offense, early on. Like, you only got 3 points out of it. But again, that's Amir Abdul's drop. Should have been a touchdown. You feel way better about both of the first and second. Well, I say first. Early guys who may be contributors in this season, first and second group guys. And that's where I'm like, all right, cool.
I do want to address Preston's question here. I'm kind of digging the offensive scheme so far. He says, I'm not sold on taking our wide receivers off the field too much, but defensive coordinators have so much to think about facing Cohen and Udinsky. Yeah, that's a great point. I think now, granted, obviously you want to find balance. Let's not get silly. But I do want to add that in 2 joint practices, starter versus starter, Bokercher has 3 touchdowns.
Yes.
So there's that. And obviously Tanner Koziel has done his part.
Yeah, and Koziel has 3. No, 2.
2, correct. And then Timmy Devil in the comments making a point about your favorite backup. How about Luke Fortner spanking our backups?
Oh my gosh. The NFL's best backup center was able to beat some of these third and fourth guys.
Yeah, exactly.
The Jacksonville Jaguars. Oh, what should we do? Like, come on, man.
Vengeance, Travis.
I say it tongue in cheek as the NFL's best backup center. If you're a longtime Duval diver, you know what I'm talking about. It's when Luke Fortner was rated the 33rd best center, and he was starting for the Jaguars. It's from a few years back. He's
the best backup. You're done.
He's the best backup. That's it.
But
yeah. I forgot to mention Ray Lane. That was a different one.
Do it.
I thought Ray Lane struggled a little bit, especially early on. Like, him and Zach Durfee were the reasons that the 1-yard touchdown play, they both got crashed down on, couldn't get off the blocks. And then, Lane had another play. Oh, dang it, I forgot. I'm drawing a blank on the play. I have to check my notes. I don't have them in front of me right now. And there was another play where he missed tackle, and I was like, dang. Because I thought he was having an up and down game, but it was more up than down. And then those early play, good play, bad play, kind of that swinging back and forth. Same thing with Christian Broswell. He gave up the 17-yard catch to Ted McMillan. And again, that's Ted McMillan. I get that. Like, I'm not going to burn you at the stake on that, man. But then he also had a missed tackle on the sideline on the long run that they had. And then he got the 3rd down defensive holding penalty that was declined anyways. But I'm just like, yo, every time your name get called, it can't be all bad stuff. Like, eventually you got to get some wins. That was the same thing I said about Jabbar Muhammad the other week before he had the last second.
The rescue, yeah.
The rescue, the PBU.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man.
Yeah, and in the comments, Jags fans and CJ Williams is going to fill that Tim Patrick role nicely. He made a big block on the safety for Abdullah's 22-yard run. Yes, he did. I'm not going to go so far as to say we're necessarily embracing that Liam Cohen will have a Tim Patrick on the roster, but he did play that role in that play, right? In a world where this tight end core is what it is, Tim Patrick, such that it is, ain't going to be used to the same capacity he was. This isn't negating your statement, Jags fan Dan. I think there are opportunities for him to lay that smack, but yeah.
Well, I thought Josh Cameron was a Tim Patrick role until you put CJ Williams on the field. Then it's like, all right, you got another one, because they're just using more. They're multiplying Parker Washingtons. That's like Brett Coleman said last week.
You could argue.
That's what Brett said on Wednesday. He's like, Parker Washington and Jacoby Myers, they just get their face in there. They got all these Rams type receivers who just love the block like that. And then Jaguars did nothing but add 2 more of them in the 6th round this year.
And think about when we were covering the Jags earlier in the life of the Duval dive. They struggled to have receivers with size, right? Christian Kirk, Marvin Jones. Your biggest guy was Zane Jones, and the only one taller than 6'1" was Jacob Harris, who was a practice squad player. And I only know him because I covered him at UCF, Locked On UCF. So cool guy, though, too. I like Jacob Harris. But now we got a lot more size. I think we got a lot more aggressive dudes, too. I think there's something different there with these cats. I think part of this group may have been what lifted BTJ up to his confidence too, not to mention being surrounded by that had to have gotten his confidence up. I'll throw it out there.
Robert Lamson says, "Was that Yasir running the ball?" Just kidding. Session messing up names again. They were getting on him on the timeline so bad because he kept saying apparently Yasir Abdullah instead of Amir Abdullah because this is the week after he said the whole Trayvon Martin versus
I know.
Trayvon Walker thing, and that just makes me laugh on the inside so much. Because I love Duval, man. Y'all boys find some funny out of everything, and that was objectively an easy one. Combs, man, don't get me started on Combs. Lost in the sauce. Nah, man, I thought he had a great pass rush. This is the funniest part about this linebacker core, man. We know who they are, both good and bad. We know who they are objectively. We know Ventrell Miller, hair on fire, downhill, punch you in the mouth, make the tackle in the backfield, and it happened on the first series of the game. And we knew exactly what we were looking at. Branson Combs, great rusher. He's done it 2 weeks in a row. Great rush. He had the pressure last week on the sack that ended up being Rukaroro. Got the half sack. Great rush on that one. He had a great rush early on or today. That was a third down to get them off the field. I think he's good in what he does. The only problem is he's not good in the things that Ventrell's good in, and Ventrell's not generally good in the things that Branson Combs is good at. And I just don't know what you do with that unless they're going to do what they did tonight, which is on third down, just run more dime and take both of those guys off the field and just throw with 6 DBs. And maybe that's the route.
That's a hell of a note too, by the way. Yeah. And it's been brought up a few times, and I'll go ahead and roll with it. Travis is not revealing his defensive player of the year because he's asking you to call your librarian at a late hour to help you read the Big Cat Country article. But I would say BTJ is my defensive player. That's you might ask why, because he did the most. See, because it's a Y instead of an I. Wow. Is because he did the most up front. I think he was the name you heard most doing good things.
Sure.
And yeah, I think I have him as my defensive player of the game.
I think he was. I think he was fine. I'm not going to pretend that I thought it was incredible, but I thought he did a few good things. At least he flashed for the second week in a row.
I think that says more about the team's performance than his. Let's be honest, but yes,
possibly. And I think he would have obviously done better with more opportunities. He didn't get them, so I'm really just basing this on a 2-play sample size. Max
the percentage of opportunities to percentage of flash. No, I hear you.
Yeah. And that's where I'm just like, it was fine, but also it was only fine because it was so bad.
So I think, Travis, we've done the most that we can with tonight's events. Even reporting the news of Anton Harrison is officially in Sharpie, your left tackle. 2 of the 5 positions at O-line we know for a fact, which is twice as many as we knew before.
I mean, this is fair. But yeah, I thought it was a interesting. No, that's not the right word.
No, you did. You're lying. You're Nessie. Now you are like
rough.
Interesting.
It was rough.
That's
it was
right.
A filler word. I'm sorry. It was rough to watch. I was happy it was over. I'm gonna love going to bed. But yeah, I'm so ready for real football. The real game was the joint practices, and the joint practices was great.
Which is why we bring you those from Miller Electric Field here on the Duval Dive.
Yeah. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it's going to be better for this joint practice that's coming up on Tuesday and Wednesday with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I am so absolutely looking forward to that. But again, I want to see. I got to see more from this linebacker core. I will say that. Because that's one of the competitions that we still don't have a real good answer on, and they still will get, 40 to 60% of the snaps. Mm-hmm. You got to have a real moderate answer on these guys. You can't go into week 1 with the code next to those names. You could, but I hope they don't. They're gonna do that. They're gonna do that in the running back room, more likely than not.
I think they're gonna come out with the co. And it's you again. I'm citing. I think it's a self-scouting question. I think it's a week-to-week question for them. I do.
I'm just, brother. It was one. They showed the highlight film of Branson Combs, and my face did this when
That's called cringe, Travis.
It was rough because I was like, it was a highlight film of today's events, and I'm like, you can't show a dude's highlight. And one of the highlights of you showing, it was a halftime. On the broadcast, and one of the highlights of Branson Combs' day was him 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Realistically, it was like 7 or 8 yards behind the line of scrimmage, touching the running back down. And I'm like, bruh, this can't be it. You can't be pushed back from the 7 yards from the line of scrimmage and touching the guy down because he's not attacking the blocker. He's actually getting ridden backwards. And you call that a highlight. Like, that's the low light of his play. That's because that's not who he is. He's not the downhill run through a face guy. And that's where I'm like, okay, so that it just further exposed one of his weaknesses. Just like if you were to put a highlight film of Ventrell Miller in coverage, it's probably going to have a lot of misses on there. Like, it's that same kind of thing. So I just need to see more there, man, so we can have some kind of like some kind of confidence in whatever it's going to be going into the season, because this season starts off pretty rough after you get past week 1.
I am confident we'll have a lot more to say leading into next week with the departure of this game into the rear view. So 34-17 Panthers win in the whose line isn't anyway edition of Jacksonville Jaguar football, where the points don't matter. So with that in mind, champion, tell the world.
Oh, you already know, bigcatcountry.com. Please follow the site. Put it as one of your favorites. Support local journalism. And again, I always say that to you guys, and I need you to know I always mean it. I'm not talking just about bigcatcountry.com. I am talking all your local journalists. I am talking all your guys.
Daniel Griffiths, friends of the show as well.
Action Sports Jazz, Daniel Griffiths, Jaguars on S side, John Shipley, all these guys out there, because
we got to shout
guys and girls out there, because they do, and they're local, and it's truly Duval versus all y'all, which is us versus everybody else. And that's so no national media. I ain't talking about 4-letter networks. No, F all that. Local. Support these guys. But Travis D. Holmes, bigcatcountry.com, on all the socials, Travis D. Holmes, the Duval Dive on TikTok. Rate and review us here on YouTube.
You've been doing a great job on the TikTok. That's a fact.
Hey man, yeah, I'm trying not to get banned. It's a process. I'm learning this thing, man. Breaking rules I don't even know exists. But yeah, Travis D. Holmes on TikTok. No, that's not true. Duval Dive on TikTok. Travis D. Holmes on the social. With the Duval Dive on TikTok. You got it, man. Like and subscribe and all the things. It's late, bro. I'm sorry.
And get your notifications on YouTube too, so you know when we jumping live. Of course, I'm Kyle Nash, the Stew of the Game. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as the Student of the Game. Check out my additional work covering your Jacksonville Jaguars on Locked On Jaguars Hit, where we give you twice a day your quick hit of your favorite team every day. And of course, my work covering UCF, Locked On UCF. What's the matter? He made a face. What'd I do?
It's just one of the comments, bro. It's nothing to do with you.
Okay. We'll check.
Y'all from Wild Boys.
Oh, good. Come on, Mile High. See, that's my bad for looking. I should have known with this group. But
I can't even share it. That's not even good for the advertisers, bro. I can't do it.
It's not, man. No, but we gonna laugh about it. It's all right. Man, go in the comments, look for yourself if you're that curious. And you divers obviously getting us through this particular one. I appreciate it. Preston coming up big. The only thing to hype tonight, the only hype I feel tonight is the Duval Dive. A true salute for you there, Preston, for sure. So with all that in mind, until next time, everybody, this is my personal champion, Travis D. Holmes. You are the Duval Divers of keeping this thing rolling. I am Kyle Nash, the Student of the Game. Until next time, everyone, class dismissed.